shall I go? What shall I do?
Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn.
Behave yourselves!
Hello YouTubers out there, this is Jerry Saravia the Movies. So today we're taking a look at a movie that was recommended by one of my top fans on this channel, somebody, a viewer who I've known for quite some time, and Tim. And I had recently reviewed a couple of days ago Silver Bullet, which was the adaptation of the Stephen King novella from 1985, and I mentioned that for comedy horror, or horror comedy, I think in that case that one is more comedy horror to some degree. That was one of the better ones, even though it's not one of the best werewolf movies ever made. So his recommendation was to check out a film called The Wolf of Snow Hollow. And sure enough, I managed to see it. So I thought it was pretty damn good. It was entertaining. And it's set in Utah, in Snow Hollow. And Jim Cummings was the writer, director, and star of this movie. This was his second feature. His first one was called Thunder Road, which I have not seen. I'm sort of curious now about this filmmaker. Although his face looks familiar, so I know I've seen him in something before. But anyway, he plays a divorced, recovering alcoholic, and his first scene is at an AA meeting. This is after a brutal attack by some sort of monster, a young couple that's staying in Snow Hollow, and at night with a full moon. So a werewolf? Maybe. Followed by an AA meeting where John Marshall, who is working actually at the police department, and his father is Robert Forster, who is the sheriff of this town. Of course, this is like a snow-covered, high elevation type town of adverse weather conditions, mostly snow, of course. And his father's played by Robert Forster. This was his last picture. And this old man is suffering from a heart murmur. And anyway, John Marshall's trying to get him to go to the hospital and recover and so on and so forth. So John Marshall, as I said in the opening scene, after this graphic werewolf attack, he's at an AA meeting, so we don't know who he is, but it looks like he's in a police station because you hear some, commotion going on upstairs, and of course it turns out he's a cop. So they're trying to investigate this heinous crime where this woman was found with some of her vital organs removed, and it's just a bloody mess, as you can imagine. So they don't know who it is at first. He doesn't believe in werewolves, and so it goes back and forth. And there is a colleague, Julia Robson, played by Ricky Lindholm, who is the most professional in this of all these police officers. And she senses there's more that's going on than meets the eye, and seems to be open to the possibility that it is not necessarily human, which of course some of the officers think is the same thing, but John Marshall doesn't. Now, it takes a little warming up to takes a little warm up, I guess I should say, to like this guy, John Marshall. He's not easy to like at first. He shouts, he's, obviously an alcoholic. He puts down people. He feels he's the smartest, this and that and the other, and there's a lot of shouting matches. But once the film gets past all that, then we see a whole lot more with regards to who he is as a person. He's suffering, and he's got a teenage daughter to deal with, so there's a lot of that. And these horrific murders are happening. We don't know for sure. We suspect it's a werewolf, and judging by the title of this film, you think it is. And I'll leave it at that. I don't want to reveal too much. But overall, this was very sharply directed and written picture, made on a low budget, but it is exceedingly well done, I thought. Especially the werewolf scenes. A lot of the gore is left, to the imagination. You don't really see much, and it's kind of it's the sort of movie you want to kind of discover. You don't want to say too much. You just want to get people excited by it. It's a solid little horror comedy, I guess. I'm not sure it's comedy horror because it almost leans more towards the comedic at first, but then things start to get a little bit more serious, and you sense that he is John Marshall, that his alcoholism is sort of sneaking back, and he's having a hard time doing his job. And I gotta say, the reveal at the end really got me. I didn't expect that. It was a surprise twist ending, to be sure. But I guess it also shows that at the end of the day, humans are far more capable of... they're far more scary than any werewolf, and I think that was sort of the message of this movie. A lot of this, which I've read from others too, and I agree, it was sort of in my mindset while watching it, reminded me of Fargo. Just the depiction of the townspeople, how many of them can't tolerate this monster. There's a lot of humor in this picture as well. I mean, a lot of it is very funny. But at first, you have to kind of warm up to this guy. He's not easy to like, but eventually, Jim Cummings does a good job of revealing some layer after layer of some measure of humanity. So they're not really cartoon characters, which I liked about this movie. They're not exactly archetypes. They're just sort of a small town trying to get past what's going on. So on that level, it was a very enjoyable picture, and I highly recommend it. So check out The Wolf of Snow Hollow. Definitely worth checking out. I think it's only about an hour and 22 minutes. It's streaming currently on Tubi, but you can also rent it. Tubi has commercials, so that's the only big issue. But anyway, check it out for something slightly different, a little spin on the werewolf genre, and thanks to Tim to recommending this picture. I highly recommend it. So it's on my list of one of the better werewolf movies, but I put werewolf in quotes. That's all I'm going to say. Without giving too much away. May have said too much already. But do check it out. Thanks to all the new subscribers out there. I really appreciate it. I guess that's all I got to say about that. If you're already a subscriber, please hit the notification bell for future uploads. And that's about it. We'll return with more reviews soon. And this is Jerry Saravia at the Movies, signing off.